We are live. Sorry about that.
Round two.
Round two. Cut. Take two, right?
It turned us the right
we
way.
were the wrong way. We are excited for this Q&A tonight. First of all, thank you guys all for the questions that have already come in. We're excited to answer any more questions that come in. So please shoot them your way. Also, when you come on, let us know where you're from. We are here in Nashville tonight. It is 8:30 our time, and our kids are down and in bed. Hallelujah. And
I think I just like raised the roof. That I don't know why I did that. It's so weird.
we really do love our children. We also like to be together after they're in bed as well.
I really like bedtime.
So
After bedtime.
one of the things that we really want you guys to do tonight is a lot of the questions that have been asked are amazing questions, and we are going to do our best to answer those questions.
Hi, Kate!
Through blogs, and we do that a lot already. So make sure that you sign up on our Facebook page. Like our Facebook page, sign up on our Facebook page, and you can do that on the Facebook page that says sign up, and you can get these blogs. So Kate is tuned in from Australia. I love it.
Which is actually 11:30 tomorrow morning. That's crazy.
That's awesome.
I'm so glad she could watch.
So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to take some of these
Grand
questions.
Rapids.
Grand Rapids, Michigan. We're going to take some of your questions, and we are going to answer them together here.
Jen had good questions too, I remember.
Yes, we did. So, okay, let's do this.
What?
Let's, can you hand me, oh, nope, it's over there. Never mind. I was looking for my phone.
What do you need?
We're recording on my phone.
Yeah.
Hello.
You want this one?
Okay, no, I'm good. I got it all right here. So,
Okay.
I'm going to do the first question from Kate, because I think it's a really important one, and it gets into the day-to-day. But I think there was also a question. I think it was Jen, yeah. Dan and Jen. What are a couple ways you connect each day in your marriage? More specifically, how do you connect when you are reunited for the day, i.e. one or the other comes home from being at work, and now you're home together, but you were apart for a significant part of the day, and little ones are in present and in need, with a smiley face.
And in need.
And in need, yeah. So, Kate, I'm going to come
Aren't
back to
they
yours, because
always
these
in
questions
need?
are very similar. So, I'm going to answer that one first, because one of the ways, and you can kind of talk to me about this too, when I come home and Christi has been with the kids all day long, one of the things that I like to try to do is, I try to get to Christi first, but my kids usually won't let me get to her first because they're barreling through the house. Daddy's home, Daddy's home. And so I usually get to the kids first, and I make my way to Christi, and I always make it a priority to make my way to Christi. Because, and the other thing about this is too, and I think this is probably one of the biggest things for us, I probably talk to Christi as much as anybody, if not more than anybody, throughout my entire day already.
Yeah, that's true.
I do everything that I can to pick up her phone calls, respond to her text messages. We're in constant communication throughout the day already. So I have a good idea by the time I get home what the climate of the house
What he's walking into.
is already going to be like. And so that's actually really, really helpful for me.
Well, and it's helpful for me because I don't feel like I've been alone all day long. Like, I at least feel like he's sort of aware of what's happened during our day and the hard parts and the good parts. And so I don't feel like I have to, like, onslaught you with, and then this, and then, you know.
Yeah.
It's more of like, hi, I've missed you. It's so good to see you.
And that's helpful. And you might be in a position where you can't be interacting like that throughout the day. And if not, I would really encourage you to come up with code words. Come up with things like, even if they're quick text messages throughout the day, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being my house is amazing today. You're coming home to a wonderful, wonderful environment. 1 being you might want to stay at work. Even just to send.
Know the climate of your house before you get home.
Like, even if you wives or husbands or whoever's the stay at home, making sure that you're connecting with those 1 to 10s throughout the day. I think that's really critical. I think that's important.
Well, and also for families where both parents are working and they're both like leaning in together. Yeah. And no one's been at home all day.
Even if it's that one text message. And so what I'll do is I'll come into Christi and I will look at her and give her a hug and a kiss, and I want my kids to see that. So I'm always making sure that the affection that I show Christy is in front of the kids, because our kids will, really the quality of our marriage under our home is what our kids are going to, in most cases, emulate in their own and look for in a spouse one day.
Yeah.
And so we do everything we can to show that affection, and I can't wait till they're grossed out by it. There was one moment Landon was grossed out by it one time, and we loved it. We were kind of laughing. It was pretty funny. He's kind of embarrassed. But even...
You know what I do like, can I tell you? When you come home and you hang in the kitchen, because usually it's dinner time, right? So you're having to like make a meal for everyone. But you just hang around, and the kids do their thing, whatever. And they started liking to draw and color and that kind of stuff. But if you can sit them down to do something, Play-Doh, depending on the age of your kids, you could put a movie on or a show. But just where there's those few minutes of it's just like you and me and doing our little thing, you know?
Yeah. No, I appreciate you saying that.
What I don't like is when we separate and you go off and, I don't know.
Play video games?
Yeah, no, you don't do that. But
what else do I do?
But I just like to see you. Like, I just want to see
and
you.
I think
I haven't seen you all day.
There's a degree to which, yes, our kids are in need, and there are things that they're in need. There's a lot of things that need to happen. We have to have dinner. We have to have baths, that kind of stuff. And there's not an opportunity for the two of us to connect. But even to look each other in the eye and to know, like, okay, something is, we are okay. Either we're okay, or maybe we're not okay, but it's okay until the kids are down.
Yeah.
And we have that where we look at each other and go, okay, we know it. And a lot of times what ends up happening is, if there is something that's not okay, it's because it's something within me that's not okay, or it's something within her. It has nothing to do with anything between the two of us, but a lot of times it'll play out that way because they're the person we take it out on when we get home. What we have found is sometimes we'll sit down together as a family and we'll start laughing with our kids, and whatever it was that was on us is gone because we spent time as a family. So,
because half the time you're not the issue, but
most of the time I'm really not the issue, probably ever.
Most of the time, but it's something that I'm dealing with, right? It's my something. And I would take it out on him given the chance. But if we wait until kids are down, things are quieter, calmer, and somehow a lot of them just seem to go away.
And then the other thing here too, and I'm going to keep answering that question, but I want to go back to Kate's question on this, is what is the biggest part in keeping your marriage happy? Not your date night, but more so a trait. I can see the love and happiness between you both when you look at each other in your live talks. It's beautiful. Thank you, Kate. For my marriage, it's having open communication about everything, even with the things we don't want to really talk about. Lately, we've been laughing so much more, and it's the best feeling in the world to laugh with your lover.
Best.
It is the best because I'm not the funny one. You're the funny one in the family, and so
you're funnier than you were.
Ouch. So you see this, like, yeah. So okay. So what one of the things that I think is really important, and I use this, Proverbs 4:23, it says, guard your heart, for it is wellspring of life. And if you look at John 10:10, it says, the enemy has come to steal, kill, and destroy, but Jesus came that we might have life and have it abundantly. I think the enemy wants to steal, kill, and destroy our marriages. And the reason is because they're the closest relationship on earth that emulates the Holy Trinity, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And so I take Proverbs 4:23 and not just think about my own heart, but as one flesh, Christi and I together in marriage, how am I protecting her heart too? And constantly thinking about that. Constantly thinking about Christi's heart. Yeah. And this happened a couple years ago when I came home from Starbucks one day, or I was working somewhere smelling like a latte, and Christi tells this story. She was in her no makeup, sweatpants, and just had the worst day at home. And I was talking about my awesome day, and she was literally in tears. And I realized I was missing her heart because she was losing her identity at home as a mom. And I wasn't catching that. I didn't understand that. I had no context for that whatsoever. We were new parents. I didn't know what that meant. She didn't know what that meant. But all I knew is that there was a disconnect between us. And so...
And I don't think I knew it till that moment. And it just hit me that, and I just asked you, why don't you ask me about my heart? Because I didn't realize I was as lonely as I was until, I guess, that moment hit me. But I think that's the thing, and I think we've talked about this, like, but the meta communication, like communicating about our communication.
Yeah.
So, like, that ensued a whole conversation about, I want you to ask me about my heart, even, which is an awkward thing to maybe talk about, but I need you to ask me because it's hard for me to just pull it out.
Yeah. And,
Right.
and that's one of the big things too for us is, we, like, for Christy and I, whenever there's a moment of expectation or unmet expectation. So for instance, like,
Yeah.
say I come home and because we're pretty good with each other, like in terms of I know when Christy needs a break in her day. And so what I'll do is I'll come home from work and I will be with the kids, and it's typically my duty. Like, I say my duty, my role.
Your job.
I do this. I come home and I take the kids,
You're
and I
great
do
at
this
that. You're
to make
amazing
sure
at
that
that.
she gets her
Yeah.
time by herself because I know she needs it.
Yeah.
And so in that process, one of the things that I will sometimes do in my brain is I will miss her all day long, and I just want her to join us for bath time, or I want her to join us upstairs because I miss all of us together. And I'm just lonely
And
just
I
hanging
just
out with the
wanna be
kids.
alone.
I mean, I love hanging out with the
Just wanna
kids,
be alone.
but I just want it to be all of us because there's something about that.
Yeah.
And if I don't communicate that to her ahead of time, and I start thinking in my brain, oh, I just wish Christy was up here, she's by herself, she's probably cleaning up the kitchen. But then I get the kids down and I come downstairs
Yeah.
and the kitchen's not cleaned up. Now all of a sudden my expectations have increased from she didn't spend time with us as a family to she didn't even clean up the kitchen. What is she doing? And it can create again, in my brain, but we're not communicating about it. And so I think there's a lot of it. The more clear we are about what each other is expecting of each other, and this takes time, this is a habit, we just need to get into that. And I
Yeah.
think that's what's important.
Oh,
So,
totally. And like what Jen just said here, or Dan, probably Jen by the comment. Becoming a mom is a huge life change, and that does make it hard to reestablish who we are as an individual and as a mom.
yeah.
Whew, yeah. I don't.
You write about
Yeah.
that all the time, or talk about that all the
I-
time.
yeah.
Absolutely. And that's what you struggled with. That you struggled with the whole,
I think that has
Mom
probably
issue.
been my biggest struggle.
yeah.
Yeah, my biggest battle, and I don't think I know any answers really to that. I just know it's a journey that I'm walking through and realizing I'm not alone on it. I think I looked at so many other moms. They look like they have it together. They look like they've got their schedule and their routine. And I know there was a couple questions, we're going to talk about that. The day to day.
Here. I'll ask that
It
question
was-
right now. Yep.
Okay.
Because that's a great one. Do you want the Christi? Yeah, for Christi Straub. How do you handle the day to day?
Yeah.
I love being a mom, but sometimes the days feel like they last forever. I work part-time outside of our home. I do have a routine for when we are home. Is there something you have found that helps refresh the day?
And oh my goodness, I've so been there. I feel like I am still there. I feel like I bucked, can I say that? The routine. Like I resisted a routine for so long. And honestly, I think it was because I looked at so many of these moms that I felt like had it all together. I felt like they had these, schedules, like with times and all these. I mean, I was barely making it through the days. I don't know how they scheduled time to change a diaper, prep for, I don't know, craft time and all this. And I'm barely I'm still in sweatpants.
Thank
and
you,
it's
Pinterest.
3 p.m. But I think for me, the one thing I resisted that for so long. I'm thankful that I finally did kind of come around on that and realize healthy rhythms are good for all of us. It doesn't have to be this strict schedule or routine. It's a rhythm. It's something that I think the kids do really well with. And I think as adults, we still do really well. Actually, I just wrote a blog about that this week. But 4 healthy rhythms for moms to overcome weakness. And so you can read that. It's on the website.
And if you haven't signed up for the blogs, you can do that. Just click sign up on our Facebook page, and you can sign up for our blogs. In fact, we have some discipline coming out on Monday. We'll talk a little bit about discipline tonight. We have one coming out first thing tomorrow morning on discipline, and you wrote that one on Healthy Moms last week. So like the Facebook page and sign up there, and you'll receive our blogs regularly. Yeah.
But back to that, I think what I've realized for me, and this isn't. I think the biggest thing I realized, what works for me is not going to work for you or for every mom, and that's okay. And I am such a type A rule follower, achiever. I felt like I needed to meet a level of of raising kids, of parenting, of being a mom, of being a wife, of keeping a home, of having the right toys and education and schools and all these things for our kids. And I realized, like, it is a daily, hourly coming before the Lord saying, Father, help me. You are the maker and the creator of these children. You show me what they need today. But within that, I realized for us, for getting out once a day was about what I could handle, and that was good. It set a goal. I mean, whether it's the library or the park, or if your kids are in school, obviously that's a very different rhythm. We're starting to get into sports and that kind of thing now too in the evenings, which has kind of shifted things. But not overcommitting ourselves to too much in the day. Yeah. But also really important for me was getting together with other women, other moms, even if there weren't other moms. I don't really, doesn't matter what the kids needed so much. They're going to have fun no matter where they go. But I needed to be around other adults, people who could tie their shoes, really, who could talk back to me, respond to me without just kids speak. Anyway.
And for me, just to go back to our marriage as we were answering those questions early on, for me, I started to see what Christi needed. I started to see what her heart really needed. And again, for each mom, for each woman, for each family, it could look very differently. But it's important that we in our marriages see that, so that I could then begin to respond to that and figure out, okay, how can I help Christi meet those needs? So giving her a weekend away every 6 months with her girlfriends, where she just goes away for a long weekend, I take the kids and she just does her thing. Or whatever that looks like, just to help with some of those routines and feed you, so that you're healthy. Because the reality is, our kids become who we are. Yeah. And I wrote a blog called "Would You Wish Your Marriage on Your Kids?" Yeah. Would you wish your life on your kids? The way that we're living, and I think that's really, as we think about discipling our kids, who are we becoming? And that's really critical. I saw someone right there. What about fostering moms? Because I think that's so critical. And first of all, I respect you like nobody else. Foster parents, and single parents. Seriously, we barely survived, the two of us, husband, wife, together in a home. We are super, super big fans of you guys. And so, again, I think it's your routine, what's important for you. We're going to get into a little bit of the parenting questions here now. One of the things I mentioned, and I don't mean to just throw this out there as a self-promotion, but a lot of what we talk about and answer is in the book I wrote called Safe House, How Emotional Safety is the Key to Raising Kids Who Live, Love, and Lead Well. You can go to the website, joshuastraub.com. It's straight from our Facebook page. And then we also have the 6-week parent study as well. And that's a parent small group study you can go through as well. Emotional safety is the core of everything that I use for counseling. It's the core of my doctoral dissertation and research. It's all about the posture from which we parent. There are no quick fixes. There are no 5 ways, even though we write blogs, 5 ways to do this, or 6 reasons for this, or 5 steps. Yeah. It's relationship building. That's what we're doing. We are raising children, and that takes a life, at least for the first 18 years. But we're really, it's more about who we're becoming as well, because your kids will only reach the emotional maturity that you have. Yep. I mean, your kids will not exceed where you are. If you're not growing, I mean, eventually your kids will outgrow you when they become adults. But within their home, we need to be growing as parents as well, and that's what's really critical.
Yeah.
So there's a great question here. First of all, I think this is fun. Jeff asked the question, what's your opinion on routine, the repetitiveness, since we're in the day-to-day, the repetitiveness of day-to-day, and the same old, same old. Why does it seem like it leads to being stuck in a rut?
Oh, yeah.
What can we do about it without taking a vacation every time you feel this way? One of the things that Christi and I do...
That's a great question.
It's a fantastic question.
Can you tell me the answer
Especially
to
for
that question?
moms. Well, thank you, because you just said it. We struggle with it. I mean, everybody struggles with it. And so I think that's the first thing is to go, okay, we struggle with this. Let's figure out a plan. If you're not intentional about putting a plan in place, then that's where, that's where you're going to get stuck in a rut all the time and all the time. And so, like, one of the things that we tend to do is, just yesterday we did this, or it was Friday. It was Friday night, or it's Thursday night maybe. It was Thursday night. It was one of these nights recently. I called Christi and I said, hey, we're going on a date, and we're taking the kids, and we're going on a family date.
Month.
Yeah, we're going on a family date. And we went to Lowe's, okay? We went to Lowe's. Home
I
improvement
actually
store.
thought we were going somewhere, like, really fun. And we pulled into Lowe's.
Sweetie, it was a blast. Did you not have fun?
No, it was really
Okay,
fun.
thank you.
It was
So
really fun.
your kids get to drive the tractors, right? Depending on the age they are. We had fun doing that.
I don't
But
really think you're supposed to let them drive their lawn tractors, but
nobody cares.
we do.
Nobody said anything. So anyway, they love riding the tractors, and they love being in the cart and riding around this big warehouse, and so that's a lot of fun. And but we were able to dream together about projects. And we have started doing projects here and there in our spare time, like building bookshelves and building picture frames and things like that, to get us out of things that are different from what we typically do.
Yeah.
Just so that we can, and then it's, we have these new bookshelves we have hanging in our house, so it's home decor that, looks nice. And so there's some benefit there, but there's also the memories of doing it with your family and with your kids. And so just stuff like that.
Can we do the patio next? I really want to
I just created a honey-do list.
Yeah, you did. That's what we need to do next. You know what I was going to say, too, though, back to, I think it was Jen's question. What I found, too, that helps with this the day-to-day stuff, and to bring a little bit of levity, is the stuff that you enjoy doing, have your kids just do it with you. Like, I started doing workout videos. It's hilarious. Like, you barely work out, and they're, like, half the time just crawling on you. But stuff, laundry, going for walks, if you like to go get coffee, like, just the things that bring you life too, just drag them along with you. And I say that in, like, the kindest way. They want to come see your world anyway. But if it's making dinner, I give them jobs. Sometimes it's stirring salsa. They think they're doing something important. They're not. But that's been really great, I think, in just bringing me life again, because I felt like everything I did had to revolve around their world, right? Like, now we're into reading and, teaching all these things, and that I need to be, like, on top of them, and that everything is geared toward them. It's not. And it's not healthy if it is. They're not the center of the universe, and they're not even the center of your family. They're a part of the family, and they're a very valuable part of the family. But I think that's one thing that it's so easy to helicopter parent and make them feel like they're the most precious prized possession, but realizing that you are so valuable and you matter. And if you neglect yourself, even in the day-to-day stuff, the day-to-day routine, I think that starts to harbor resentment towards your kids. Eventually, 20 years from now, where will you be? Where will they be? They're going to be great. And I think we know they're going to be great, but what's left for you? And
it's good.
And for us, like, what did we do in our day-to-day lives, in the nights and the weekends? It's not just visits to the park just for the kids, but what did we do that also brought us life? Yeah.
And one of the things that we do is we do date nights. We strive for a date night every Friday night. If it's not Friday, it's a different night. But we at least try to do once a week. We usually hit about 3 times a month, 3 times a month. And so, because we need to be connecting. And if we're not connecting, and by the way, we have date nights, free date nights. If you go to joshuastraub.com/members, joshuastraub.com/members. It's our Safe House membership page. So if you go to Safe House, joshuastraub.com/members, we have free date night ideas on there. Free date nights, free, there's an electronic nuptial agreement for your marriage. You can get, I mean, literally we have scores, like 80 or 90 different date night ideas and hundreds, 600-700 different questions that you can be asking each other to keep the mystery and curiosity in your relationship and laugh and that kind of thing. So that's really, make sure you take advantage of that on our website. We would love that. We have friends helping, we have a friend, not friends, we have a friend helping us tonight. Did you get that question? I saw there was a military.
From Samantha.
Okay, was it military?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we nailed it. You and I.
know.
Look at that. Okay.
So it's gone, but
Okay.
she's a military wife.
Samantha, right?
Samantha.
Samantha.
She's a military wife with 4 kids, and she had a question about just how to do structure and discipline when kids are, and keeping things consistent. When dad's home sometimes, dad's gone, just, the kids miss dad, and she feels guilty because he's away. So
Yeah.
how do you keep that structure?
Thank you for that. That is fantastic. Samantha, first of all, thank you and your husband for your service to our country. We just absolutely,
The utmost respect.
for you guys. And so
You've actually worked a lot with military.
So I've been working a lot with the military, speaking at Fort Bragg and Fort Benning, and I'll be at Joint Base Lewis McChord in Washington here in a couple of weeks. And so I've been really, especially with Joint Special Operations Command, been speaking a lot to their families. And this is something, and again, it's around the area of emotional safety. So Samantha, if you're still on and you're still watching, one of the things I speak on a lot is the context of emotional safety and the power of emotional safety with our kids. And some of you might be like, well, what is emotional safety? Emotional safety, I describe it as this: it's the posture from which we parent, not the techniques that matters most. Because there's all kinds of parenting techniques out there. From, do I spank my kids or do I not spank my kids? Do I put them in timeout or time in? What do we do? And by the way, one technique that works today might not work with that same child tomorrow, and one technique that works today with this kid might not work exactly with this kid. So techniques come and go. The posture from which we parent should never change. And that's a lot of what I've been talking about in terms of who we're becoming as parents. And so Safe House is the name of the book and the study guide. And you can look at that on our website. But I speak a lot to that, especially to military families. And the reason is because this is really based on that research shows the quality of the time that we have with our kids really makes a huge difference. And so even when your husband is constantly going and you don't know when he's coming back or how long he's going to be away, or Lord, if he's even coming back, sadly enough. And so we just really make sure that if you can, it's a great book, just not because I wrote it, but because it lays out very specifically a lot of the different strategies.
Safe House is the best. I highly recommend.
A lot of the different strategies that you can use in the home to make sure that you are trying to set that same structure and routine, because that is important. Routine is important for kids. Structure is important for kids. And one of the best ways to get them on board with you is to create fun rhythms. So for instance, just a crazy example. If your child isn't, say, getting their clothes on, and you're trying to get their PJs on, and it's becoming a fight, create a dance. You get your PJs on by doing a funny, crazy dance, and all of a sudden your kids all want to join in because they're doing crazy, funny dances too. And now it's not a negative like, oh, well, you're not listening to me and you're not listening to me, you need to go to a timeout. Now all of a sudden we're having fun as a family because we're doing a crazy dance and putting our PJs on. Those types of rhythms can really be helpful for families where it just feels like it's constantly a fight.
Yeah.
Making a game out of it, having fun with it. And by the way, the more rules, there's a blog I'm writing out. It comes out tomorrow, first thing. So if you haven't signed up on our website, make sure you do that. Tomorrow's blog that's coming out are the 8 most common mistakes we make when we discipline our kids. One of those common mistakes, sneak peek for those of you watching, is when we set too many rules. Because too many rules equals more consequences, equals more times that you're constantly putting kids in timeout, which is constantly. And so being wise about how many rules we actually do have, and
Yeah.
whether they're rules or they're preferences. Are they really issues that need to be addressed, or are they just your personal preferences because they're your personality? So that's an important thing to look at. I want to go to a question from Haley, because I think she's asked a great question here as it relates to what we're talking about. And Samantha, it's going to lead to this question, or somewhat answer your question as well. How do you find a balance between being strict with your discipline with your children versus showing grace?
Yeah.
And that's a super great question. And part of that is coming to the place of, and again, I'm going to talk about the posture from which we parent. Let me say this, and because it's the showing grace versus truth is the way I describe it. It's a balance between grace and truth. And I'm going to also address another question in the same answer from Monique, because Monique had a question: how to handle older teens not wanting to go to church, and what to do with their younger siblings when they say they want to stay home too. And so you have an older teenager who doesn't want to go to church, and now the younger sibling wants to also stay home because she doesn't want to go to church either. And so again, it's the balance of grace and truth, and I think we're balancing this at different age brackets here. I'm assuming, based upon Haley, based upon your picture, you got some young kiddos. Monique's got older kiddos, and so how do we balance this across the developmental lifespan of a child? So one of the ways to begin that is to first, again, out of the context of emotional safety, remember this one phrase. This one phrase is really critical. It's the golden rule: do as you would do unto others, but replace the word do or treat with the word understand. In order to be understood as a parent, we must first understand. Excuse me, I got a frog in my throat.
I could have said that line. I know that one.
Say it again. Repeat it. You don't really know it. See? Okay.
No, in order to be understood
as a parent, we must first understand.
It also applies to any other relationship.
Anything.
But yes.
And in leadership, this is where I speak a lot in leadership, especially to the military, is in order to be understood, you must first understand. Yeah. And it's posturing yourself in such a way, so like for your kids, this is the grace piece. Always beginning with seeking the underlying motivation of your child. Why does your son want to stay home from church? Ask him, talk to him. What really is it? Because really, and I hope I'm not stepping on your toes here, but church, the local church, is designed for us to grow in our relationship with God. And we are, it's fellowship. It's all about fellowship. And if your son is going to a church...
It's a daughter.
It's the older...
Sister.
Oh, the older sister. If the older sister is not going to church because she's not connecting with anybody, or the youth group is just not really doing that well, and she's not connecting and she's not fellowshipping, and it's like there needs to be a conversation there of going, well, maybe this isn't the right church for our kids.
For her, yeah.
Yeah, for her. Because the kid, it's really important to make sure, yeah, maybe for her, you know, but seeking the underlying motivation of your kids' hearts. Because if we don't seek their hearts and we just are strict in discipline and we come out with truth, we are going to rupture that heart issue. And I'm going to repeat this again. I talked about early on, we talked about our marriage, and I'm always constantly trying to pursue and protect and guard Christi's heart in our marriage. Because the condition of her heart is reflective of what my heart's going to look like. Because if the environment of the house isn't good, mom ain't happy, nobody happy, right? And
Amen.
so we want to make sure that, I want to make sure that her heart is protected and doing well. And so it's the same thing with our kids. We need to pursue our kids' hearts, because if we don't have our kids' hearts, listen, if you don't talk to your kids as toddlers, you can't expect them to talk to you as teenagers. And so we need to make sure that we are connecting at their heart level, seeking their concern. It's leading in grace. Peter wrote, we are called stewards of God's good grace. We lead in grace. Dr. John Townsend, a mentor and friend of mine, says that truth without grace is received as condemnation. If we just come down hard with truth, but we're not grace and seeking to understand our kids and where they're coming from, we could genuinely condemn them and shame them and ridicule them. And I don't know anybody that's ever been motivated to do positive behaviors by being shamed or condemned.
Yeah.
And so no matter the age of your child. Now, Haley, for you, this is difficult, especially, and I don't know how old your kids are, but early on. Someone wrote, how do we start disciplining a 13-month-old? That's a very difficult age because you do not know whether it's willful defiance sometimes or whether it's just that their brains are completely overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Because that's the whole part of emotional safety, is emotionally safe homes calm the brain in such a way that the higher level functioning parts of the brain for self-control, regulation, that's what really builds that part of the brain. So that balance. So to answer the question, to go back, we seek the underlying motivation of our kids. Why are they concerned about it? And then we follow up with our concern. Because once they feel heard, once they feel empathized with, then we can then assert or be assertive about our own concerns. Well, my concern is that you're not engaging any faith community, for instance, okay? Sure, you're not connecting at this church, but my concern is you're not engaging in any faith community, and we really want you to be engaging in faith community because the church is, it's the central core of our ability to be able to grow in our faith is being around other believers. And so that's one of the biggest, I think, ways then. So you seek the child's underlying motivation. You then submit and talk about your concerns, but you do this in the context of being respectful. And being respectful and seeking the underlying motivation of our kids is not demanding their respect. It is because if you demand respect, that you're going to create that wall, that heart chasm between your kids and you. And so it's you need to model biblical respect. Biblical respect is not, I'm going to respect you if you respect me. We are to be leading our kids into emotional maturity. And if we're not being emotionally mature with them, we're leading them down a path where they're just going to act the same as we are, as immature as we are. And so we have to be functioning as parents really, really strongly and growing and engaged in faith community as well as we navigate that. The way that I would answer these questions is who are you becoming in how you're seeking your kids and what's really going on? So, for instance, in those early years, and again, this is hard to answer in such a big...
Yeah.
So again, go to Safe House, because Safe House, you can see the whole thing. But
and what you talk about there, though, is building a safe house requires 4 equal walls, right? In order for a house to be balanced.
Yeah.
And so what you were talking about is talks about 2 different walls, the wall of grace and the wall of truth. And if they're off, if the wall of truth is too high, the wall of grace is too low, or vice versa, it's going to result in an unstable home.
Yeah.
And it's an unsafe home for kids, for adults as well. But I think also when you were talking about Monique, like with her high schooler, I mean, that's a huge issue because after she seeks the underlying motivation of her daughter, what are her reasoning for not wanting to go to church? Then she is on a platform to be able to then say her reasoning for why it's important that they go. But also, we were talking about this before because we talked about this question. There are certain things when we open that door and we say allow her to stay home, what does that allow her then she has a reason to get out of family dinners, maybe a family vacation. So there are certain things then you have sought her heart. You now have the relational authority to speak truth to her that I'm sorry that you will come with us to church. That's just a part of being in our family.
And before that happens, though, is inviting her into the conversation is what you're doing and collaborating on an answer. Because you're teaching her how to problem solve in her own life. There will be things in her life. There are truths about this world. There will be things that she doesn't want to do in life.
Right.
And she's going to have to do them. This is part of, and again, I'm not saying drag her to a church where she's miserable and just hating God as a result of it. But at least have the conversation where, hey, maybe we can start thinking about a different church because you only have a few more years left, it sounds like, with her. And if it means you going to a different church for a few years for the sake of her emotional or spiritual maturity and growth, then let's collaborate and let's talk about that. So those are critical. Question. Yes. What's it say?
I'm just letting you know.
Oh, yes. Okay, so we have talked a lot about, I've just dumped in some cases.
I know, I just listened. It was really great.
So make sure you like our page, like our Facebook page, And because we do live every single week, and we talk about a topic or an issue. Tomorrow's issue, this week's issue that we're going to talk about, which you don't even know this yet, but we're going to talk about this
what
week,
is it?
is a blog coming out tomorrow called 8 most common mistakes we make when we discipline our kids. And so we are going to talk about.
Made all of them.
We're going to talk about all our mistakes this week because we made. Yeah, I think we had made most of them.
Oh, I'm sure I've made
so,
every single one. Many times.
So, like the page and then sign up. There's a sign up button there on our Facebook page where you can sign up and get these blogs on a regular basis right into your email so you're not missing them, because we address a lot of these issues all the time in our writing and that kind of thing. So,
You want one more question?
go ahead. One more question.
Really good.
Okay, one more question.
From Angie, she says, I feel like I have to start over, teaching my boys from the ground level every time they come back from their dads. Do you have any advice for co-parenting after divorce?
Yeah, co-parenting situations. I come from a co-parenting situation. I was a child of divorce. My parents divorced when I was 10. By the way, it reminds me, there's one question else I want to ask tonight, and it is, we'll close with it. I'm going to answer this question, but I just want to make sure. I just thought of this, and I wanted to make sure that we close with it, because I'm all about spiritual growth in our kids. And there's a spiritual growth question.
This one? Have a heart.
How do you help your children have a heart for God and not just follow the rules? We're gonna close with that one. A co-parenting situation is so tough. I get these types of questions all the time, especially as it relates to technology, because one parent might allow technology or an iPhone, and the other parent doesn't want the screen. By the way, if you sign up on our website, you get a 14-day challenge to rescuing yourself, your kids, and your family from the screen. Or your marriage from the screen. So 14-day challenge. So if you sign up, you can get that 14-day challenge for free. Because we're all about the screen time too, as we talk to you on the screen.
They're good for things.
Yeah. So the co-parenting situation. Here's the reality. Because it's easy. I did this to play the lenient one against the strict one. And what's really wild about this is my mom was the strict one. My mom held to the rules. And as much as I kicked back and I didn't like those rules ended up being what drove me back to her into my late teens, in particular my late teens, because our relationship was ruptured. And now I'm super, super close to my mom as an adult. Mm-hmm. So yes, we had some.
She's awesome.
So let me just say this. If you feel like you've lost your teenager in a co-parenting situation because the other parent is lenient, or any whatever that looks like, continue praying. Continue praying. You cannot pray enough for those children. And let me encourage you, stick to what you believe God is calling you to do. Don't become somebody different. Don't become a different parent just out of reaction to what the other parent is or is not doing. Continue to have fun with your kids. Continue to be the parent that God has called you to be, both balancing grace and truth, because they'll come back to you, okay? What you're going to end up doing is you're going to end up becoming somebody that they're not going to know who you are, and you're just going to be going with the wind, right? And Psalm 1 talks about, the wind and going with the wind and being like chaff, and it just goes all over the place. So if you're not rooted and planted by the water. And so you need to root your own relationship with the Lord primarily. But when the kids come back and they're all out of sorts behaviorally and that kind of thing, continue to be safe. It might take a little bit of time for them to get that out of there, but to get those antsies out of there. But go back to what I talked about. Seek the underlying motivation of your kids. Don't try to superimpose your preferences, or like they might be saying words that you wish they wouldn't be saying, or phrases, or they might be watching shows or playing video games you wish they wouldn't be playing that are kind of on the edge. Be careful about setting too many rules that you push them too far away, but get into their heart. Seek the underlying motivation. What do they love about being at their dad's house? What do they not like being at their dad's house? And how's it different from my house? And what are ways that we can make it better here? And seek their hearts, because the more you seek their heart, the more they will continue to come back to you down the road when trouble comes, because it will come. They will hit bumps in the road. Those stressors in life will always come. And so make sure that you are consistent. The more consistent you are in who you are and that you're growing, they will come back to that. So that would really be my advice on that.
Oh
so.
yeah, and I just keep thinking it's safe house. It's creating for them a safe home.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I mean,
I'll just we have the 6-week parent study. You can see this on the website, Safe House, how emotional safety is the key to raising kids who live, love, and lead well. We also have the book. You can get that on Amazon or Lifeway.com or any of the other retailers out there. And a lot of questions that we can't get to just in a Facebook Live could potentially be answered there. So make sure you check that out. This last question, and I want to answer it here, is how do you help your children have a heart for God and not just follow the rules? I love that, because this is the balance of grace and truth, protection and exploration. One of my biggest concerns is that the millennial generation, over 50%, 54% or something like that, say they want to be BFFs with their kids, best friend forever. Listen, if you want to be best friends with your kids, I kindly but boldly tell you, go find friends your own age. Your kids do not need a best friend, they need an authority figure. And if you raise them as an authority figure, they will become your best friend as adults. But if you try to be their best friends early on, research shows over and over and over and over again, there will be a complete split later on. And so we have to balance those 4 walls. That's what Safe House is all about. Exploration, allowing them to explore, but not too far, not overprotecting them, and then also the balance of grace and truth. And here in this particular case, I'm just going to go to what we do. Focus on values over the rules. Focus on values over the rules. So for instance, one value we have in our house is treating others better than yourself. Treating others better. And so we use Philippians 2:3. So when our kids are in a fight, that kind of thing, we are always, always, always saying, be kind, be generous, treat your sister as better than yourself. So no matter what rule they're breaking, we go back to these values. Another one our son memorized is Proverbs 6:6.
Go to the ant, you sluggard.
We consider his ways and be wise. One of our values in our home is hard work. We want our kids to understand the value of hard work. As Dave Ramsey teaches them in one of the books we read, the best place to go to get money is to
go to work.
Go to work. And so we want our kids to value hard work. And so if our kids aren't helping with carrying groceries in for their mom or for me, or they're not doing certain things around the house that we're asking them to do, we bring up Proverbs 6:6, go to the ant, you sluggard, and we talk about, or anytime we're out and we see an ant, what does the ant mean? It means a hard worker, right? So we have a list of values, and then we parent around those values, and then all those rules go back to the values, constantly back to scripture based on verses. So, this has been a lot of fun.
Great.
This has been super fun. Janice, thank you so much for checking in. Love the sweet couple and their words. Thank you so much. We're really grateful for you. Again, like our page, and Stacy's on it. Like our page, sign up for our great free stuff, right? We have a lot of free stuff. Hit the sign up button. You'll get the free 14-day challenge, screen challenge.
You can do it right on Facebook. You can hit
sign up. Free 14-day screen challenge. You also get an eNup in there, an electronic nuptial agreement for your marriage, so that you're not fighting over the phones and when you're on them and that kind of thing. By the way, that's another way that we have helped in our marriage, is we have expectations around the phones, so that we don't have to ever really talk about them, because there's already a set expectation. And all we have to do is be like, take a look at that. Sign up for those blogs, like the page, and thank you so much. We do this once a week. We'll be back Thursday night again, and talking about discipline. So, discipline. Anything else that we forgot or need to talk about?
That was awesome.
Thank you guys so much all for checking in. We will see you later this week.
Bye.